5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have ignition. Strap in. You're about to listen to the hottest sounds.
Dream Catcher Radio.
Sometimes when you're in a dark place, you think you've been buried, but actually, you've been planted.
Well, I won't back down. No, I won't back down. You could stare me up at the gates of hell, but I won't back down. No, I'll stand my ground. Won't be turned around, and I'll keep this world from dragging me down. Gonna stand my ground.
Okay, we are back for episode 38 with the Ralph Christie injustice case. It's really quite fascinating because there's something else going on in the background. Ralph knows about it, but because it involves other people, but it relates to his case. And I had another meeting with the police, and they basically, in the first meeting, they were very, very diligent in that meeting and made lots of notes. You can see them scribbling. Well, it looked like they're making lots of notes. And they were supposed to do another meeting, which did happen, but it was scheduled for 45 minutes. But unfortunately, it only went on for 20 minutes. And I got the view is that they were dragging their heels a little bit, which I find really, really interesting, considering the amount of information that's on file and the limited parameters that I gave in that meeting, just to try and find out how they could allow, in one instance, a self-confessed rapist and a money launderer off with no further action. And there's all sorts of other allegations in relation to this one person, Stephen Thomas. But the actual inquiry that I made to the police encapsulated a number of issues. It just so happens, Ralph's here, by the way. Good afternoon, Ralph.
Good afternoon, brothers.
Yeah, it just so happens, Ralph, you'll love this one. Someone contacted me in the week with a very similar case of domestic violence, coercion, control, beating, and it involves West Yorkshire Police. So she's going to be interviewed by one of our other presenters who lives in Australia, who you may know, Kerry.
Kerry Christie, no relation.
Kerry Christie, yeah. The actual spelling of your surname's it's the same, isn't it? Yeah. So I think she's doing that this week. So we're going to add that one to the file as well for next month's meeting. So there's a little update there. How's things going with you in Crete?
Well, we've had terrible fires. Fortunately, not too close to us. Well, quite not concerning where we are. In fact, it's when you came over. You remember we went for that drive in the mountains. Yeah, where I think it was. We did a video, didn't we, and what have you? All that has been destroyed. All that village has been destroyed, Melemis and what have you. Well, things, of course, when tourists were bound to panic when that's going on, so a lot had to kind of get evacuated off and what have you. A lot of Plakis area, or this side of Plakis, has been destroyed. Apparently, the fire in Crete, so I was told by my Greek cousin Jason, was the biggest landmass ever of a fire in Greece in the history. So that gives you an idea of the stance of the land that was kind of destroyed.
Wow. Do many people carry household insurance over there?
Well, yeah, they're doing the villages, but of course, you've got a lot of the houses here are built illegally. So if it's built illegally, you can't get the insurance. So I mean, there's over 1,000 houses that have been destroyed near in Attica, which is part of Athens, near where that terrible helicopter crash was. Insuring, I mean, I don't insure my houses, to be fair, because I don't think there's any need, because the houses don't get burgled here like they might do in the UK and what have you. And of course, they're all built of concrete anyway, the houses. So, and if you're in a town, it's highly unlikely that a town is going to set on fire.
Mm. How did the fire start? Do they know?
Well, it's been reported that they've arrested the CEO of the electric company in Reffinon with manslaughter, because two firemen actually unfortunately lost their lives in the fire, and they've arrested him because it actually happened from a spark from an electric cable or something where the workers were working.
All right, so they go straight for the CEO of the, do they?
Well, I've read in the report that he's been arrested and detained about it. Yeah, I mean, how much you can blame on him, I don't know. But yeah, that's as far as I know, that's what's happened.
That's where you had the two helicopters crash into each other as well, wasn't it?
No, that was in Attica. That was the other side of north of Athens. Unfortunately, we lost two firemen here.
Right, wow.
Mm.
The
always people worse off than yourself, brothers.
Pardon?
There's always people worse off than yourself.
Yeah. It doesn't. I mean, it's a good line, I guess, but it feels like things are tough, man. It really does.
Yeah.
Feels like things are tough. Okay. Let's go through your usual email.
Yeah, it's been an interesting week. I've done quite a few TikToks. We're right into the nitty gritty of it now, of how it's all happened and how we've got the collusion between Cedric and Declan and Cameron and my defence, what have you. So I've been firing the bullets at them all, and to no response. But I think the longer it goes on, I mean, getting huge amounts of viewings on TikTok. The one that I sent out of Declan and Cameron visiting me in the prison in Crete, saying they were right behind me, has had about 9,000 hits, which is like 6 times higher than I usually get, and it's only been about 4 days. So I think we're slowly getting the message out.
It's interesting though when you know everybody says, family blood is better than friends blood or whatever. I can't remember the question. But what you find is you get more damage sometimes from people so close to you in life.
Well, they're completely mixed up, aren't they? I mean, Cedric and Declan are completely deluded with what they've done to me. I'm not a criminal. We know about their criminality, so they must be really messed up human beings. I mean, Cedric, as far as I know, fell out with Cameron and Declan in 2017, so I don't think they communicate. I put out in the TikTok that I've only seen Cedric 3 times since December 2013, and that was over here when he went off again saying that I was a money launderer and all the rest of it, repeating all his crap from 2014. Declan I saw on a visit on the 5th of June 2015 when my ex-wife was there in Kenton and my daughter Lauren, where he just said to me in the visiting room, well, you've done the crime, Dad, so do the time, which is not a nice thing to hear when and then he never visited me again. But I had a contact at HMP Leeds when I went up for a pocket hearing, and because it was white collar crime, they let you go back on a train. And I just said to the officer there, I said, look, ring up Declan and see if he'll take me down to HMP Sudbury. So the officer came up Declan, and Declan and Cameron came and picked me up. Came into the Army jail and Leeds jail, picked me up in a big Range Rover and took me back down to Sudbury. So I was quizzing them all the way there, and they were still communicating with Cedric on texts in the front of the car. Anyway, I didn't hear from Declan again. That was the last time I saw Declan until he came over here with Cameron and the girlfriends, August 2020, where they were here for 4 days. And after 2 days, Declan and Cameron said, oh, we've got to get back to the UK. Some meetings have turned up, and they disappeared because obviously they thought that Cedric, because he'd done his confession and what have you, and apologised for it, I was going to give them all the blame and they could just make up with me. But there's no way that Cedric could have done all this on his own, or Cameron and Declan could have done it on their own. So the 3 of them have collaborated to create all this crap in 2014, changed the 8 defence witnesses to prosecution, told all the lies about no money in Zakros and no money in Bali when clearly there was. So, Yeah, that's it. They're the ones that have caused all this, and they started it. You know, it's like Grattage, and we read it out here. They keep saying that I've fallen out with Cedric. I still haven't fallen out with Cedric to this day. As far as I'm concerned, he was diagnosed as mentally ill on the 14th of April 2009, which we've spoken about before. Obsessive behaviour syndrome, police burnout, suicidal, morbid jealousy. And at the same time, he was suspended by Sir Norman Bettison because of their investigating him for being corrupt all his career. So if you've got a brother that's mentally ill, I don't think you would fall out with him, would you? You would support him, and I would still support him if that is the case today. But the whole of the CPS and his police force have used Cedric in 2014 by blackmailing him to do whatever he's done and protect Cameron's credit card fraud that Yar reported to North Yorkshire Police. So it's very, very sad that even though the West Yorkshire Police CPS knew that Cedric was mentally ill, and that's why he left his job, that they've gone and made him officer in charge of 14. Well, whether Cedric would have gone to prison for what he did or his confession, I don't know, because if he's mentally ill, he's mentally ill. And you've got to treat people that are mentally ill different to people that are normal. I mean, my father got Alzheimer's at the age of 58, and he was what I call a happy Alzheimer's sufferer, if you have such a thing, because they can turn violent in a lot of cases. But even though my dad was going downhill for 8 years, and it was a very, very difficult thing to watch him, die in the end, he was always smiling and laughing and joking and, and that sort of thing. And then my mother did have some mental health issues, which was brought on by the religious sect that they were involved in 2000 in the 1960s and the 1970s. So there is a bit of background here. So what I'm basically saying is that Cedric's obviously, he's been diagnosed by Dr. Spain at Niddledale Health Centre in April 2009. Before my investigations into me started in July 2009, so it's all out there. It's all nonsense what's happened, and now of course Grattage and Tirani and Tayab Ali just jumped on the bandwagon for some reason. So anyway, enough of that. My letter went out to dear Tayab.
Just bear with me for a second, because I was doing some research last week on the number of fraud cases where people are wrongly convicted. And it's really hard to get any data on it whatsoever. You can get like in terms of fraud, there's quite a few that you can find individually, but there's nothing wholesome. I mean, obviously, the Post Office one is the biggest one. That's like 900 victims there. But there's very limited data on what the government release against overturned convictions for fraud cases. And I found that quite interesting, actually. I may do a freedom of information request on that, actually. Anyway,
the thing is, as you know, I was cleared of fraud in Greece, so I'm not a fraudster. This was all just brought on in 2015 to protect West Yorkshire Police's reputation and their ex-head of the money laundering department, Cedric Christie, who was a known criminal. So even I'm not a fraudster, and I never will be.
To play devil's advocate on that one is that I would suggest that they would say that the case was ineffective in Crete, so they did a better standard of
okay.
That's I'm guessing what they would say.
Well, we spent 2.5 programs on going through the whole case and how
we did, and they examined.
They didn't turn up with Stephen Thomas as a known rapist, and Sue Watt didn't turn up. So if they can't say it didn't go ahead, it did go ahead without a doubt.
If that happened in the UK, in the witness didn't turn up, ordinarily what would happen is there would be no case to answer. There's no witnesses. That's generally what happens in Crete. They actually went through paper by paper.
You don't want to start a criminal trial against anybody in Crete unless you've got the facts about it, unless you're speaking the truth. And unfortunately, they weren't, and they suddenly realised that they would be going to jail. You can't just drop a case here once you've brought it. There's many cases I know where some ladies that have unfortunately been beaten up by men here. I won't mention any names and what have you. And then they try and stop it from happening. But as far as the Greek prosecutors, no, we're still going to try it, even if you two don't want it now. So,
they kind of do that in the UK, but it's a bit more wishy-washy.
Mm. But the Thomases started something based on, we know all this now, hiding this 3 million tax job, the death duty job, and just roped Sue Watt in before we thought Sue Watt had roped in the Thomases. But through the programme, we've got it's all down to a fine tea now what's gone on.
Yeah. Okay. Let's get on with your email then. This is your weekly email that you send to over 200 people that have an interest. Obviously, quite a few of them just ignore you. In this case, including all your former investors that you send out every whenever day you do.
Yeah.
So let's go through your latest email.
Yeah. Okay. So it's Dear Tayab, the evidence unearthed on Dreamcatcher Radio is damning Tayab. Tayab Ali was the lead solicitor from ITN London. That was for my defence from January 2012.
Yep. So,
and Gratitude and you should have got me justice, just as you rightly got me here in Crete in 2013 with Cedric and Dr. Femis Sophos, who was my lawyer the Greek lawyer over here. You need to ask yourself, did you follow the Nolan principles? The simple truth is you didn't. Why did you cover up Cedric and Stephen Thomas' known criminality since 2008, scapegoating innocent me? Why did you let the prosecution use the bent Greek lawyer Nikos Nichosadakis, and even more serious, if that's possible, allow Cedric to choose a judge who gave said a commendation in 2011, which was Judge Durham Hall? I'm not going anywhere again, Tayab, so pull up your socks and do what you have to do, unless you could be going somewhere. And rightfully, he should be, because he's abused my legal aid, he hasn't defended me, and he's protected Cedric. So anyway, on my first point here is on the 18th of the 1st, 2015, I sent this email attached to my senior defence barrister, QC Chris Tarani, copying you in Tayab, Stephen Grattage and Miriam Shabab. Dear Chris, how can we possibly have a trial without Stephen Thomas or Cedric and Sue Watt, a prosecution witness alone, when she is salaried by Stephen Thomas and worked with the CPS and West Yorkshire Police for years to unsuccessfully nail me in Greece? The instigators of 6 years of horrendous, catastrophic and idiotic consequences, which at worst has seen me spend a year in jail in 2 separate countries, divided families, people to contemplate suicide, now 8 more prosecution witnesses to be in the dock against me, who would have been part of my defence, caused individuals and companies to go bankrupt, people on constant medication, including my ex-wife, my wife Jane, as she was at the time, European arrest warrants served, huge waste of taxpayers' money, huge waste of public funds, etc. The list is endless. So 18th of the 1st, 2015, this is when they've suddenly told me that Cedric and Stephen Thomas are not going to be called. So the dates are key. The trial's actually started at this time. And my second point is, on the 8th of August 2017, whilst I was serving an unlawful prison sentence, my defence solicitor, Mr. Tayab Ali, who this letter's to, wrote to me at HMP Hatfield. With regards not calling Stephen Thomas and Cedric Christie, both these men were hostile to you, and you were repeatedly advised that if you were called as defence witnesses, they would take this opportunity to damage your defence case, and therefore you were advised not to call them, which you agreed. Absolute nonsense. We knew Cedric was a bent copper and had been investigated since September 2008 before Operation Langan. We knew Cedric was mentally ill, which we just spoke about earlier. And we knew Stephen Thomas was a self-confessed rapist. And we knew that he'd laundered a lot of money and hidden money from Jane Thomas with Simon Thomas in 2007, and also lied in the family courts. So this is nonsense, what these excuses are giving. So number 3, on the 25th of March 2021, QC Stephen Grattage wrote to the head of the Exchange Chambers Leeds Complaints Department, QC Lewis Brown, a lie. I, Stephen Thomas, can confirm that I had no meetings with Cedric Christie and was not convinced by him of anything. Chris Tarani, Miriam Shabab and I were all aware of the fallout between Ralph and Cedric. Well, I haven't had a fallout with Cedric. As I just explained earlier, I still haven't had a fallout with him now. He had to do what he did because he was pushed to doing it. He didn't, he hasn't given me a chance to speak to him. I haven't had a chance to check how his health is. I haven't had he's just been shoved into court. So it's a downright lie that I've fallen out with Cedric. As far as I'm concerned, if he was to knock on my door now, I'd sit down, have a coffee and say, which I did 3 or 4 years ago, but he's the one that unfortunately is in a very difficult place and not me. And then point number 4, Andrew
So
West.
before you get there, so basically what you're saying here is Stephen Grattage just said, I confirm that I've had no meetings with Cedric Christie and was not convinced by anything of anything. I think I've heard that quote before somewhere.
We read it in the actual letter last week, didn't we?
Right, okay, yeah. Chris Tirani, Mariam, and I were all aware of a fallout between Cedric Christie.
Between Ralph and Cedric.
Yeah.
But there's no fallout. Cedric just did what he did in secret. He did, all the time. He got me arrested and put into HMP Leeds for 90 days or whatever.
How can he says, I can confirm that I had no meetings with Cedric Christie. And then he says he's aware, and I'm not convinced of anything by him. All right, okay, fine. We discussed it on the last episode anyway. All right, item 4, notation 4.
Item 4. Andrew West attached told His Honour Judge Thomas, 9th of the 1st, 2014, when I was remanded, I, Andrew West, can confirm everything has changed now and that Ralph and his brother Cedric have fallen out, Your Honour. In fact, for a long time now, Mr. Christie had supported Mr. Ralph Christie, as both believed it was a plot by West Yorkshire Police against Cedric. Well, we did believe it was a plot by West Yorkshire Police. That's a fact. But again, I haven't fallen out with Cedric. West Yorkshire Police and Andrew West at this time have said, look, I've just been cleared of the Greek trial. You better get something on Cedric, on Ralph, else you're going to go to prison. That's how it all happened. So you got 4 points there where Andrew West is the chief prosecutor in Operation Langan. Stephen Grattage, who was my defence QC. You've got Tayyab Ali, who is my defence lawyer, and Chris Tirani, all 4 of them saying the same kind of script, which is just a pack of lies, which shows, again, collusion between protecting Cedric and working with the CPS.
Mm. Okay, right.
Let's move
on to this handwritten letter dated the 27th of April. You've probably got a better copy than I have, and some of these words I cannot see. It's a handwritten letter. It's nicely written though in block capitals. But,
that's Charles. He does all his architect drawings by hand.
Some joined up words here which I can't read. I tried reading it just now, and I thought instead of messing up, you said you've got a better copy your end. So maybe you explain firstly explain the body of the letter, who's the author and who's it to. You've obviously mentioned Grattage already.
Stephen Grattage actually went to Charles's house with Tayyab Ali and Miriam Shabab on I think it was the 14th of March 2013, and took a witness statement off him for the Greek trial. And of course, Charles, was part of the trial. We read out what he said in the trial. So he was very much a good defence witness. And of course, this 27th of April 2014, this was actually meant to be the day when I was going to have the 1 count with Benedict Clark. But now, of course, that's all changed because Cedric and Declan have just come back from their trip to Crete, beginning of April, and raised the counts now from 1 to 19. I've just been released from prison and I needed to get back to Crete. And so I said to Charles, will you write to Stephen Grattage? And bear in mind, Stephen Grattage, and as I said, and Charles had been part of the Greek trial, so they knew each other. So it's not just somebody out of the blue to Stephen Grattage. Okay, so it says, Mr. Stephen Grattage, Exchange Chambers, Leeds, Oxford House, Oxford Row, Leeds, West Yorkshire. Dear Mr. Grattage, Mr. Ralph John Christie, I understand that Mr. R.J. Christie is currently on bail that limits his investments with the confiles of North Yorkshire. So my bail condition said I couldn't leave North Yorkshire. I also believe that Mr. Christie is attending a hearing tomorrow, the 28th of April 2014 at Bradford Crown Court. I would ask on behalf of Mr. Christie that bail conditions are revised so that he may be able to travel to Crete, Greece, and resume his normal business activities. The restrictions of the present, it is quite difficult, bar conditions are that Mr. Christie cannot continue to support his family, business partners, and associated colleagues in Crete. I would draw to your attention that whilst Mr. Christie was incarcerated in HMP Leeds, his principal investment vehicle in Greece, Verona E, was sold at auction at a significant loss to Ralph and up to 40 shareholders. And of course, Charles actually stopped the first one from happening in October 2013, but so the bank could repossess it. Now, the second one was going to be I was going to attend with Charles and Pat Brownette and Matthew Clark on the 15th of January. But of course, the lies that we just spoke about with Andrew West told Judge Thomas that day got me detained, so I couldn't turn up. The first auction was first defended by myself at the courts in Wrefn on Crete, 10th of October 2013. Most unfortunately, and as a fourth direct result of Mr. Christie's imprisonment in Yorkshire, the company Vaughan AE was sold at auction the 15th of January 2014, Wrefn on Crete. In order to avoid another similar situation, it would be appropriate and advisable that Mr. Christie be able to protect his business interests in Greece by enabling his travel between Yorkshire and Crete. Unfortunately, I have pressure matters in London tomorrow and shall not be able to attend Ralph's hearing in Bradford. In my absence, I am hopeful that this brief note may be considered as a material evidence in the returns of all important aspects of Ralph's personal liberty and capabilities to provide for his family. My kind regards, yours sincerely, Charles Zanakis. And below that, there's a couple of, he's given a character reference for me on the 22nd of March for the Greek trial, just basically saying he's known me, that I'm an honourable man, he met me at chess club and blah, blah, blah. And I don't know if we want to read that out. There's also one that below that.
I can't see that. Right? Is this one? I don't know, Mr. Christie. Yeah,
there's just two character references. One that he did on the 22nd of March 2013, which was the week after Grattage.
Yeah, I've got that, yeah. And 10th of December, yeah?
Yeah, that's 2009, which was just after I'd been arrested in the UK for the first time. I mean, I can just...
2009, that's when the economy crashed, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, okay, I'll read it out. This is from Charles.
Yeah.
And it's marked "To whom it may concern." I've known Ralph Christie for over a year, having made his
acquaintance.
Okay, it looks like admittance.
Chess club.
Chess club, for which we're both active members. I've had the pleasure to frequent numerous social family gatherings together with Ralph and our respective families. I have no hesitation in, what does that say? Commending. All right, okay. Commending Ralph to be an honest, reliable, and principled individual with a real affinity with Crete. His natural beauty.
No, it's not his.
Natural beauty, history, and the inherent communal values of the Cretans. Our regular discussions concerning ecological and environmental issues have allowed me to form a clear impression of a considerate, generous family man with a rare regard of his newly adopted home, the island of Crete. Yours faithfully. The next one is dated the 22nd of March, again from Charles, to whom it may concern. I've known Ralph Christie, this is sometime later actually, so
yeah,
so that the chronology works there. I've known Ralph Christie for over 5 years, both a professional and personal capacity. We first met at a local chess club on Crete. Ralph is a resolute family man who takes his responsibility to his wife and Crete, and children most seriously. It has remained his ardent intent to settle down on Crete with his family and to be fully integrated with the local customs and traditions of the island and its people. I have had the pleasure of meeting Ralph's family, and I admire his heartfelt sympathy, that's an interesting word, for Crete, and the commitment to base his family on the island. He is a model expatriate. I have no reservations in stating that Ralph has always exercised exceptional degree of integrity and honesty in all of our dealings. And to third parties, I am aware that the recent past has proven challenging for Ralph. Nevertheless, he has continued to act in a diligent, equitable manner throughout his dealings with myself and known associates. I believe that Ralph has a deep empathy for Greece, that's a more appropriate word, and Crete in particular, which has allowed us to approach development proposals on the island holistically and with pronounced emphasis on robust ecological principles. This is most rare, even amongst the Cretans business fraternity, and is an enduring quality which firmly places a long-term benefits towards the island. As I was first concerned about development and planning, I would not hesitate to engage with Ralph Christie in future business dealings and would urge that he persists in his principled defence of his name and character. Yours faithfully, Charles. Can't get much of a better reference than that.
No, and I'm still working with him today. In fact, I think if we'd had more time, you'd have met him. And he wants to come on the radio next week, Bradus, and so maybe we can set that up. I mean, you can just do a 40 minutes with him before you come to me, if you like.
Yeah, he's more than welcome to. We only got about 6 minutes left. We've got another email here. 16th of February. Do you want to read that one out, Ralph? From Christie.
Yeah, I shall. Let me just get it. Yeah, this is another interesting date because this was actually when the trial was going on just before I get sentenced. Now, obviously, we've had that where I've emailed them asking why Cedric and Stephen Thomas haven't been asked a month earlier. So this is right, 16th of February. Now, the top bit is I sent this out to the shareholders, and Chris Horwood, who is a Placis Palace shareholder, actually responded to the top. So he actually, in response to what I wrote, to what Tarani wrote, Chris Horwood said on the 16th of February, "The truth is coming out daily in Bradford, Ralph." Oh no, I sent it to him. I sent it to him. "The truth is coming out daily in Bradford. Keep things private within the circles of my close friends, Ralph." That was to Chris. So from Chris Tarani, this is the 16th of February. "Dear all, the information that has come into my possession," and this is sent to Tayeb Ali, Miriam Shabab, and Stephen Grattage. So they're all in on this. "The information that has come into my possession since last night confirms what I have believed since my first involvement in this case, namely that on the 10th of October 2009, West Yorkshire Police requested the Greek authorities to restrain the following Verona bank accounts, John Jessop's Greek bank accounts, the Ralph and Jane Christie's personal Greek bank accounts. It was the Greek authorities who actually obtained the freezing order. Mr. Christie and I do not disagree upon this matter. In any event, who froze the bank accounts appears to me to be irrelevant. The issue is that freezing of the bank accounts crippled Mr. Christie's business and has resulted in all his troubles, the point that Mr. Christie has made repeatedly when giving evidence. I have asked the prosecution to make an admission confirming the above." Now, and regards Chris Tarani. So we've had all the prosecution witnesses gone in the box. We're next going to read out after the break why they didn't use defence witnesses, which is dated the 4th of February. They told me on the 18th of February I wouldn't need defence witnesses because of what the prosecution witnesses had already said. So the whole of the plot, going back to December 2013 when Cedric and Declan went against me and I got those remanded twice. Now, just before I've come out to a week before I'm sentenced to 7 years in prison, Grattage is now making this to the prosecution. I don't think he even did anything about it, to be fair. I've asked the prosecution to make an admission. Nothing was discussed the following day about it. Nothing was done about it. And lo and behold, I end up getting a 7-year sentence.
Yeah. I mean, we obviously know what the outcome was. Just something else, moving on. You mentioned about the Nolan principle. Whilst you've been, I've not heard of it before. And am I mistaken that it's a 7 principle of public life?
Yeah, if people they're sworn to it. If you're a public servant or like a police officer or something like that, they're sworn to or even council workers. They're sworn to it.
So Yeah, like I say, I've not heard of it before. I mean, this is what the seven principles are: is selflessness, integrity, objectivity, accountability, openness, honesty, and leadership. That seems more like like a MP or councillors, or I suppose anybody in the civil service, I guess.
Yeah, and that's why I sent it to Tayab, because he's been paid by my legal aid, but effectively used my legal aid to protect Cedric and Stephen Thomas.
Yeah, yeah.
He's,
I suppose
he's
in
not,
your case, I'd be thinking more about candor and fiduciary duty and that sort of stuff. But yeah, I've learned something new there. Not heard of it. Only established by Lord Nolan. That's why it's called the Nolan principle. Actually, to say that though, I think about that logically though. I know many people that should have this rammed down their throat.
well,
the
Cedric's a retired police officer, isn't he? He's
Yeah.
taken the vows that's got a name, hasn't it? With the police officers when they take their vows, and then he's gone and done his confession in 2021, and Ramona Senior says, "We don't worry, we're not going to prosecute you, Cedric, because we've got to protect the West Yorkshire Police's image first and foremost."
Well, they swear. Police officers swear an oath, don't they?
Yeah, yeah.
The Okay, we're finished for the first half now. Would you like to introduce your first song?
Yeah, a great song from, I think it was the 70s or early 80s, Jerry Rafferty, Baker Street. Yeah, I just heard it in the car the other day, and it kind of reminded me. I presume it means Baker Street in London. It could mean the one in New York, but it reminded me when I was going through London down Baker Street to find Peters and Peters' lawyer's office, which turned out to be another red herring, because Nick Vamos worked with Keir Starmer and Andrew West in 2011 when the famous letter of request went out full of lies to Greece.
I thought he was going to say you went down Baker Street to look for Sherlock Holmes. Anyway, we're going to play that song now.
Winding your way down on Baker Street, light in your head and dead on your feet. Well, another crazy day. You'll drink the night away and forget about everything. This city desert makes you feel so cold. It's got so many people, but it's got no soul, and it's taken you so long to find out you were wrong when you thought it held everything. You used to think that it was so easy. You used to say that it was so easy, but you're trying now. Another year and then you'd be happy. Just one more year and then you'd be happy, but you're crying now. Way down the street there's a light in his place. He opens the door, he's got that look on his face, and he asks you where you've been. You tell him who you've seen, and you talk about anything. He's got this dream about buying some land. He's gonna give up the booze and the one night stands, and then he'll settle down you know he'll always keep moving. You know he's never gonna stop moving, 'cause he's rolling, he's the rolling stone. When you wake up, it's a new morning. The sun is shining, it's a new morning. You're going home.
Dreamcatcher Radio is about capturing and creating dreams through music, chat, and debate. Empowering expression, enriching society. A go-to place for unsigned musical talent. A radio station which listens to its audience. Free speech, vibrant, engaging. Stream worldwide 24/7. Events, competitions, promotions. Always keen to have a listening ear. Contact us. hello@dreamcatcherradio.com.
Dreamcatcher Radio.
Okay, this was a Jerry Rafferty, Baker Street. Again, a song I've not heard since whenever. Basically, it's been decades probably. So we just played that for you on the radio station. I'm pretty confident it's not on our playlist. So thanks very much for recommending that song, Ralph. We're now going to go on to this document here, which is drafted by, does it say who it's drafted by? Oh yeah, Stephen Grattich. And it's something that I've not seen before. And it's advice re defense witnesses. Is this like an internal document, or is this to the barrister?
No, it's to me. It's to me. They've written this to me on the 4th of February 2015, which is 3 weeks into the trial. Now, of course, I've been wanting Cedric there. I've been wanting Stephen Thomas there. I wanted Sue Watt to be exposed that she was an insider working for the CPS and Interpol and all the rest of it. I'd all my 12 defence witnesses lined up. We now know that 8 defence prosecution witnesses have been tittled by Cedric to go prosecution based on his lies. So it's quite late in the day that he's actually written this, and I suppose he must have written it because I was still going on to him about defence witnesses and how I needed them. Because bear in mind, they told me I was going to get not guilty anyway, based on what the prosecution witnesses have said already. So we've just had that where Tirani said he was going to send a letter to the prosecution about West Yorkshire Police freezing the bank accounts or whatever and crippling the businesses. Well, once West Yorkshire Police did that in October 2009, just when we were going to float on the UK plus market, Benedict and Matthew Parker given us €500,000 to help with it. Other people have put money on it, and quite rightly, as Tirani says, they crippled my business. Now here we are, 5.5 years on later, and Gratis has been working for over 3 years at this stage with ITN, and it's quite obvious that the reason that everything collapsed was just based on the lies of the known rapists Stephen Thomas and Sue Watt and Simon Thomas in July 2009.
Okay,
so,
this is actually quite interesting for me. This is why I enjoy doing these shows, because I've learned something. I'm guessing it makes perfect sense. But one thing I do know, having witnessed, pardon the pun, so many court trials. I've never seen this before. But it makes perfect sense that they do provide this. But 3 weeks into the trial, that's a bit late though, isn't it? Anyway, I'm going to start with page one, then you go page two, I guess.
Okay.
And this is the Crown versus Ralph Christie, and it's marked advice defend witnesses. And I'm guessing I've not read this, so we're going to do it. You've probably read it. I'm guessing it's about evaluating the credibility, suggesting examination points, or just the formulation of defense witnesses, I guess. But let's see what happens here. And like I say, you've already identified this doesn't come out to a happy ending. Okay, notation number one. As part of our instructing solicitor's preparation of Mr. Christie's defense, our instructing solicitor was instructed by Mr. Christie to obtain statements from the following persons. Numero uno, Dr. Furnace Saphos, Mr. Christie's Greek solicitor regarding the completed and ongoing criminal and civil proceedings in Greece. He is barred by the Greek Bar Association rules from giving evidence on behalf of a client in court proceedings. The prosecution have encountered the same problems with another Greek lawyer.
Well, let's just stop there then, eh? Because Dr. Femis Sophos was my defence lawyer over here that got me acquitted with Gratitude's help, and Cedric and Tayab. Now he's saying regarding the completed and ongoing criminal and civil proceedings in Greece. There's no ongoing criminal proceedings against me in Greece. That's a downright lie. Remember, Tarani said that in his notes that I was convicted of embezzlement in Greece, which is another complete downright lie. They're quite aware then that there was a criminal trial that had gone on in Greece, but they didn't bring it into the UK trial. The civil proceedings in Greece are still going on today, which we spoke about in previous show. Dr. Femis Sophos isn't allowed to give evidence in the UK because of the Greek bar. The prosecution can't have their solicitor either, which was Nikos Nikosadakis. But what goes on? Nikos Nikosadakis is used by the prosecution, saying that 400,000 receipt he gave to Howard Tennant in April 2009. I told him to write because I never gave him the money. And they go, so for my own defence to be writing this, Nikos Nikosadakis probably hadn't been used at this stage. I think he came in quite late after this letter had come out. But so why is Grattage saying that the prosecution are having the same problems, and then Grattage just sits on his hands, doesn't say a word, when Andrew West reads out the lies from Nikos Nikosadakis, which was exposed by Cedric and Tayab and Grattage when they came over in March 2013. And you've listened to the recording of Cedric conversation with Nikos. So yeah, just in point one, there's so much nonsense in there, isn't there?
Yeah, specifically in regards to ongoing criminal proceedings. That's a key point as well. Okay, we then go on to Manfred Dole, one of Mr. Christie's business associates in Crete. I think you've mentioned his name quite a few times.
You've met him, brothers, haven't you?
Oh yes, I did actually. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I did. Yeah, he had nothing but positive things to say. Very likable guy, a little bit quiet, but very likable guy. He obviously loves living in Crete as well.
We're full on at the moment. We've got a lot going on with me and him with Edward. So yeah, it's good.
Okay. Then you've got Charles Inakis, one of Mr. Christie's business associates in Crete, which we've just talked about. He gave you those character references. Jeff Brown, who I've also spoken to, one of Mr. Christie's friends, investor in a number of his land investments in Crete, also a former education teacher, wasn't he?
Headman.
David Champion, one of Mr. Christie's investors. Helen Folks, one of Mr. Christie's investors. Did you want to say something, Ralph?
No, Dave Campion was the national squash coach for England that taught, was Declan's teacher at squash, and has a villa over here, and that was why the squash court was built. Maybe to enhance business and to make it a school of excellence over here for squash players.
So thus far, these witnesses seem relevant. So Manfred was obviously involved in construction and stuff like that. You got Charles, who you just spoke about, Jeff, who's an investor
Yeah.
as well, David, investor, Helen, investor, David Folks is partner to Helen, investor, Nigel Smiles, he purchased a house from Mr. Christie and gave character evidence about Mr. Christie. David Flowers, who gave character reference regarding Mr. Christie's character. David Brown, one of Mr. Christie's investors. For the sake of just carrying on with this bit, because it's investors, David Johnson, one of Mr. Christie investors. David Collins, one of Mr.
Dave Johnson was over for the Greek trial, so he actually sat through it. He wasn't a defence witness, but of course Jeff Brown was, Charles Zanakis was. They were used defence witnesses over here. So yeah, Dave Johnson was actually at the trial here. Sorry, Bradish, yeah. Go on.
No, that's fine. David Collins, one of Mr. Christie investors. Jeremy Burley, I think I pronounced that slightly wrong. Burley.
Biley.
Yeah. Okay, one of Mr. Christie's investors, open brackets, who is sceptical to come to court if required, will revert back to Ralph, close brackets. Now,
I think that's because he's quite elderly, as Jerry, as we know him, still here now, a great friend of mine, a great friend of Jeff Brown's and Nigel Smiles. And I think it was a matter of, because he lived here, he didn't really want to travel all the way to the UK, but he would have done if we'd have needed him.
That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 witnesses. How many witnesses were called in your defence?
None.
I know the answer anyway, but I thought I'd just say.
And bear in mind that there was 13 prosecution witnesses, and 8 of those were going to be my defence witnesses, but Cedric got them to believe his nonsense in April 2014, and they became prosecution witnesses. So it's staggering, isn't it? It's staggering. I'd have had over 20 defence witnesses. Cedric stole 8 of them, or twisted them, to go against me, and then I'm told I'm not going to use any. So this is all part of the narrative, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay, I'll let you start reading.
Okay.
And comment as you go along as you see fit.
Yeah. We mentioned to Mr. Christie when we first received all the above witness statements shortly before the start of the trial and during the start of and the course of the trial, how we are surprised that we have no statements from. Okay. So number 1, the villagers who own the Zakros land from whom Mr. Christie had purchased a controlling interest in order to counter the prosecution's implied assertion that Mr. Christie never had any interest in Zakros and that all his actions in relation to this land were fraudulent. So, well, I mean, we've evidenced 1.8 million in Zakros. We've evidenced Jeff Brown had money in it. Stephen Thomas had admitted in his own statement he'd had 500,000 in it at one stage. Cedric had money in it and taken it back. So basically, this is my own defence, even though it's gone through the Greek trial, that it was all genuine, and now saying that it was fraudulent. I'll just go down now, I think, because he answers them lower down this. So I'm just going to Article 3 where the answers are. So I'll skip to that each time. So whenever we would question Mr. Christie regarding why we don't have statements from the persons referred to at the paragraphs, to Mr. Christie has said, regarding the Zakros villages, how can you expect me to get statements from them? They live in the middle of nowhere in Crete. NB, we have advised Mr. Christie that video conference facilities can be arranged for the witnesses to give evidence from Crete. This is complete nonsense. You know, they hadn't even asked me to get statements from the people in Crete. You've got Jeff Brown that would have been a used defence witness that knew that Zakros was genuine. He knew that he'd had most of his money back out of it. Mario Cionicione was a prosecution witness that was blackmailed. And he knew all about the Zakros deal. And it was actually Cedric. So when Cedric was on side, he says, "Yeah, you don't have to do anything, Ralph. You don't have to get any statements of anyone. It's up to the CPS to get these people to get witnesses." But of course, now we know Cedric went to Zakros, or said he went to Zakros, and the seller's lawyer had told him that I'd had all my money back in October 2008, which is just a complete downright lie. I mean, this is. We're right into, if nobody can see through what's gone on after listening to this episode, well, it's staggering.
Okay.
So, Okay, I'm just going to scroll up to number 2. The representatives of Suncom, who were interested in purchasing the Zakros land and issued a letter of confirmation in 2008 indicating that they intend to purchase the land. Okay, so how can I get a statement from Suncom? This was a Russian company representative, given that he did not follow through and sell the Zakros land to this organisation. Pat Brown actually spoke to Suncom. He admitted it in the witness box that he had a conversation with the chairlady of that company. And it was genuine, and he'd seen the websites, and I think he had a meeting with one of the representatives at some point. But we didn't sell to Suncom in the end. It was the Ministry of Oman that were going to buy it for 25 million. So again, it's another crazy statement from my defence team. Then number 3, the representatives of the Omani finance minister who was negotiating to purchase the Zakros land. So what did I say about that? How can he be expected to obtain a statement from the Omanis? And in any event, our instructing solicitor is in possession of documents from the Omani government that confirms his involvement in negotiations with them. We have yet to see sight of these documents. Right, so this is the 4th of February. Yeah, every day I've been going back to Tayab Ali. I need the cancellation of the deal with the Omanis and the valuation of which was done on the 3rd of September 2009. That I've been waiting 3 weeks for in Australia in August, which never came through and was stopped because of Ramadan starting. Been through all this in previous programs. So,
Ralph, I've got a question, right? You're saying that this got given to you 3 weeks into the trial, yeah?
Well, this is the 4th of February. They hadn't given me this document by the time Grattage had written this. But it was so key to me. I would have been found guilty. I'd have got 14 years if I'd have gotten guilty for Zakros deal. But because I got the translation and all the dates tied up, it was quite obvious it was a genuine deal.
All right. But the thing is, the bit I don't get though, right? Why are they talking about this and not responding to the witnesses above? I'm guessing it will come out in these further pages that I've got in front of me about each of these witnesses, these 13 witnesses. But why are these talking about these witnesses? We're not identifying issues regarding the 13 witnesses. He's talking about other issues here.
Yeah, he's asking me why I haven't got this. Yeah, there's all smoke and mirrors, isn't it? Bear in mind, there's me, and I'm dealing with a top QC and Grattage who's worked with me for 3 years, and there's nowhere in sight of anybody from ITN at any days of the trial. We've got Cedric working behind the scenes, which has been written by Grattage and.
But the thing is, though, Ralph, though, right? Sorry to overtalk you. I apologise, but for example, we have no statements from EG. The representative from Omani Finance Ministry. What's that got to do with this? They're not a victim.
Well, and also Steve Skidmore admitted that he spoke to the Ministry of Oman in one of the police station interviews to Jeff Brown, and he said, and Skidmore said there's no such thing. The Ministry of Oman didn't even exist as a known body, and everybody knows there's a Ministry of Oman. It's how their country is governed.
Are your investors known as villagers?
Sorry?
Are your investors known as villagers?
No, I think they're talking about the people I'm buying. Zakros was made up of 60 families. They're talking about I mean, everybody knows that Zakros was genuine. Pat Brownette has been over there. Bill Morris has been over there. Peter Morris, the CEO, has flown over in his plane with me. You know, it's just crazy. This is all to protect Cedric, isn't it? Because Cedric has come back now after he's put me into Harmony for 3 months, HMP Leeds. He's come and got his investigations, complete lies and what have you. They've got the story. And so you can tell that Gratty is now asking stupid things like this 3 weeks into the trial. They've already nailed me, haven't they?
It's called the distraction game, to be honest. Because I'm just thinking about the implied assertion, they use the word here, Christie had never had any interest in Zakros. Surely the solicitor would have basically expressed your interest anyway.
Well, yeah, of course. Stephen Thomas has admitted he's had money in and out of Zakros in what we've read out about that. Right. Cedric's had 100,000 in and had it out with profit. Mario Churchill only had 280,000 of it back out of the 320,000 euros he's put in. He's admitted that in his own writing. Jeff Brown's had most of his money, but he has still got some there. Howard Tennants have had 200,000 of it back. So it's just ridiculous, isn't it? I can't. I don't know. I can't remember what I even thought when I read this, but it's all been. The plan has all been hatched, and it's just coming to fruition now. I'm going to jail.
Basically, though, right? Because I've just read the next paragraph. Yeah, you wasn't acting as agent; you was acting as principal, right?
Yes.
Right. Okay. Fine. All right. Okay. Yeah.
Number 4, Primo Fratelli, who fronted Noah Asset Management, which had 50 million euros to invest in Crete. They could have bought Zakros, they could have bought Bali, and they could have bought Plakias Palace just from one asset fund, which we needed to float on the UK plus market. So I would have had a company worth 50 million virtually straight away. So Primo Fratelli, and we met Primo Fratelli in Switzerland, in Gstaad, with Pat Brownett and John Jessup and Stephen Thomas in February or March 2009. So it was all genuine. So Primo Fratelli, who fronted Noah Asset Management Limited, who was engaged in negotiations to purchase the Zakros lands in 2009, and Patrick Brownett, Property Development Director at Howard Tennants Limited, met in March 2009. That was in Gstaad. And Pat Brownett concluded Mr. Fratelli was a crook, refused to confirm his identity and position with Noah Investment Management Limited when he was asked to do by Mr. Brownett. So is that Mr. Pat Brownett was a prosecution witness, who was a defence witness in Crete, who wasn't called. And now my defence are backing up that Pat Brownett, he must have said this when he was in the box 4 days before they wrote this. So they're using a prosecution witness now to condemn a guy called Primo Fratelli, who was it wasn't just Noah Asset Management. He had another company called CC Management. He was well known on the Greek stock market for exactly what we're talking about. And how Pat Brownett can just say he's a crook because he didn't identify himself, complete nonsense. I mean, I was at that meeting and they didn't get on. That was for sure. But I would still have had Primo Fratelli buying Zakros when I got the valuation of 25 million in September 2009. So it was very much a key part of my us going forward to making a lot of money here. I'll just see what I put for my answer down below for that then. And I put Primo Fratelli is a busy finance man based in Italy and Gstaad. See, we've got it. We have again suggested that Mr. Fratelli can give his evidence via a video conference link from where he is in the world. But, I wasn't asked to do. They never asked me about anything like that for video links and what have you at all. So, statements from persons who had granted Mr. Christie controlling interest in lands that they were nominally owned. Notaries, I just put notaries are too busy to cooperate, but I had all the contracts. I had a list of all the assets. I had a list of what I had control of. It all come out in the Greek trial. So when we read this, I'm absolutely baffled now how all this has been cleared up in the Greek trial. So I can't believe that we're even going through this.
Okay, let's carry on. I mean, this document to me, like I say, it's just cloak and mirrors basically. So far, I'm hoping there's going to be something juicy here. Which explains why they rejected your 13 witnesses. So we'll have to just carry on. It goes on to notaries next.
I don't think they do. So original documents and English translations of those documents relating to the valuation of Zakros land, another land Mr. Christie was trying to sell in 2008, 2009. I did sell it to the Omanis. Let's see what I say about this.
I can't find that on my document now, Ralph. I've got notaries, etc., involved in negotiations that resulted in Mr. Christie purchasing his controlling interest in Zakros land and confirming valuations, etc., relating to Zakros land and other land deals. That's what I've got next on the end of page 2.
Right, well, I've got page 7 in my answers lower down. The documentation relating to the land valuations and Zakros are in possession of our instructing solicitors. These documents are, according to our instructing solicitors, in the possession of our instructing solicitors, but are in Greek. Funding from the legal aid has yet to be granted to have these documents translated from Greek into English.
So you had the document?
Of course, I had the documents. I've been waiting for this document. If I hadn't got this document, I insisted on it. If I hadn't got this document, I would have got 14 years in prison. But they did translate it after this date because it's so important to me. They're saying that my legal aid weren't going to pay for it. Well, the legal aid have paid for gratitude to Tayab and to go to Greece for 4 days in 2013. Miriam Shabab has been there for a week with another of this staff from ITN for a week, getting statements from FEMIS, which we've read out on the previous programmes. So to say that they can't translate three sheets of evaluation, which I've got, we might read that out after, was ridiculous. But unfortunately, it did come in time. So we have pointed out to Mr. Christie that in the absence of persons who provide the valuations, the prosecution could make an assertion that these documents are not credible and or may simply be based upon a story spun by Mr. Christie. I mean, I've been held in prison for 8 months based on the Keir Starmer letter and all the lies in that we read out. I've been through a trial in Crete where everything that's been mentioned in here, I've been cleared off. And all the Zakros stuff came out. Declan himself did the report into Zakros for me because I couldn't do it because I was in prison. So that was my own son helping me for the trial before he went against me with Cedric in 2014. So. It could, my own defence saying that it could be a story spun by Mr. Christie. Well, like I say, fortunately, I got not guilty for this. So the last one, statements from persons who have personal experience of large-scale cash transactions that Mr. Christie engaged in while doing business in Crete. Such persons will not provide statements, as if they did, they might expose themselves to tax investigations by the Greek authorities. Well, they did provide statements. I've got lists of Dave Campion wrote a statement. All the people above there had given handwritten statements to ITN solicitors on or before the end of the year 2014. I've got loads of them. I've got them all. And now they're saying that they, for some reason, they didn't want to be defence witnesses because they might face tax investigations by the Greek authorities. What, in a UK court? I'm just dealing with complete.
I'm just reading while you're talking there your reasonings why these specific witnesses can't be called.
Okay, well, I'll go down to number 4 then, shall I? We advised Mr. Christie in consultation on Friday of last week, discussions of about an hour, yesterday approximately 20 minutes, and today discussions lasting approximately 1.5 hours, instructing solicitors present, can't remember them being there, the dangers of calling any of the above named witnesses, given that most, if not all, of the witnesses named above. And then it gives the simply invested in projects led by Mr. Christie evidence that is already before the court. Okay, well, you want to hear from them you want to hear from the horse's mouth in the witness box, don't you? Number 2, recount how they were investing in the man rather than in his business organisations. Well, it's the same, isn't it, really? I mean, people knew the difference between Veron AE which was a hotel, and personal investments with me. And a lot of people had a lot of money back. The Thomases made a profit out of me. They had Simon Thomas had a house. It cost him 300 grand. That I think 170,000. It was paid out of money he made out of me. And then he went and sold it for over 500,000. And then number 3, confirm the unorthodox approach to land deals in Crete that result in a loss of tax revenue to the Greek treasury. Evidence already clearly established in court from numerous prosecution witnesses. Well, unorthodox approach to land deals in Crete.
On that point, though, Ralph, then, yeah, it's common practice to do what you're doing in Crete. Yeah, everybody knew about it.
Yeah,
like common practice, basically. What has that got to do with your defence in relation to alleged?
Well, what they're basically saying is I've got problems. I'm telling people to do things here, and the tax revenue to the Greek treasury is going to be lost because of the way I'm doing it. But I've been told how to do it, and everybody in Greece does it this way.
A character, I guess that's what they're saying. But then again, if you look at it the polar way looking at it, okay, fine. At least it shows that you're actually doing transactions. Because if you weren't doing transactions, then you wouldn't be allegedly ripping off the state.
Exactly. I built over 30 houses.
So it's an oxymoron then in itself, isn't it?
Yeah. We were going to float on the UK plus market to protect everybody's money. That's been evidence. I got not guilty for that. I got not guilty for Zakros. I got not guilty for Blackie's Pallet. Got not guilty for money laundering. I got not guilty for fraud. The only ones I got through was the stupid Howard Tennant one that Cedric and Pat Brownett concocted together, or Pat Brownett suddenly decided to believe a bent copper and not me after being working with me for 3 or 4 years. It's disgraceful, really. I can't think of the words to say how bad it is. And it's that my own son and my own brother just happily went along with this to protect their own criminality. So number 5, appear to believe that all of Mr. Christie's financial difficulties arose from the UK police investigations into Mr. Christie's activities and the freezing of the bank accounts in Greece. And then he's put in brackets that appear to contain little or no money. Well, it's still got 86,000 in it today. Is that little or no money? You don't want a lot of money in the bank, do you? You want it in assets. You want it in land. You want it in deals. You want to be paying staff. You want to be creating cash flow, making money for yourself. So that's a very stupid thing for Gratish to say. And do not know the full extent of Mr. Christie's difficulties that have been exposed by the police investigation. Well, Mr. Tarani has just read his letter out that he sent to the Crown 2 weeks after this, saying it's quite obvious that Mr. Christie's difficulties have been caused by West Yorkshire Police freezing the bank accounts. So, the whole of everything that has caused goes back to the lies from Simon and Stephen Thomas to sue Watt about covering up their bills, their death duty tax. They knew Stephen Thomas was a rapist, but they still go along and arrest me and Jane and Jessup in October 2009, where we're trying to protect Benedict Clark's money, which I got not guilty for at this trial. And say Mr. Christie's difficulties are down to exposed by West Yorkshire Police. Of course, they're down to West Yorkshire Police, and also now, 6 years on, down to a self-confessed bent copper and my devious son Declan.
Okay.
One is that Mr. Christie owes to various persons, organisation, Basil Hockley, 6,000 due to a currency transaction. The currency transaction I did with Basil Hockley, if you remember, was 400,000 euros that Stephen Thomas paid 150,000 sterling through his brother, and I paid the other 150,000. Was for me when he sold his house for 4 million. For 400,000. So what Basil Hockley come into the witness box for some reason saying I still owed him 6,000 due to currency transactions. It's a complete lie. This is like
6,000 out of 400.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And he's obviously had all the rest of it. And like it could have been the exchange rate that caused that. It could have been an arrangement fee. I'll give you 6,000 for it. But they've gone and brought a guy in who lived in the south of England. He was actually staying in the same hotel with me that night. I was checking him out. I couldn't speak to him because of the prosecution letters. But I knew him over here. I'd helped him many times with transactions with Alan Thompson and what have you, even when they were building their house. So this is the lengths that they've gone to. And I don't know whether he was brought in by Cedric or not. And Howard Tennants Limited, 1 million plus 400,000 of his loan monies was used in an investment not related to the Zakros land deal. But the money, the 1 million was not to just go into the Zakros deal. If you remember, we read out the indictment on count 12. It said that Mr. Christie didn't put all the 1 million into Zakros when he was supposed to do. They still had 400,000 from their original loan from June 2008 that was still in Zakros in February 2009 when they did the 1 million loan. So out of the 1 million loan, Stephen Thomas had 250,000 euros to buy him out of Veron because of the problems with the inland revenue in the UK and his paying the tax on his dad's property. 400,000 went into of their money went into Bali, and then they took the hotel side for 750,000. So out of their million, they'd made a profit. But I'm still got my and I told the defence this and what have you. But we didn't know the extent then that Cedric had lied to Pat Brownett in Harrogate, because Pat Brownett never mentioned that he got his information from Cedric in the witness box. So money is owed to Mr. and Mrs. Thompson, which Mr. Christie claimed he has discharged as he gave them a flat in Crete. A flat in Crete. I gave them an apartment. We don't really have flats. I mean, the language is shocking, isn't it? You know,
That's why I said, by the way this is written, it's more of a defensive tactic on your defense to basically say, we've got a record here, we've done everything for Mr. Christie. Yeah, but the verbiage is not coherent in relation to the whole subject matter.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. Bear in mind, Howard telling us again, we're waiting for the trial to end on the 27th of April 2014 with the one count of Benedict Clark, which I got not guilty for, to continue, Peter Morris to continue doing business with me. So that's all been stopped. Now, going back to Mr. and Mrs. Thompson, they gave me 200,000 sterling in January 2008. That's a fact. They had 150,000 back, evidenced by them in their own in the witness box and in their own police statements, and they took an apartment for 120,000 euros. So they actually made 200. For their 200,000, they got 250,000 back in the apartment. But because they got lied to by Stephen Thomas and Sue Watt in July 2009, they believed them and aborted their apartment. So yeah, so to say they gave them a flat in Crete, it's just ridiculous. They got yeah. B. Mr. Christie's apparent representations to some of his investors in Placus Palace, who was left with the impression that they were investing in Monte Crete and that Mr. Christie and his wife were directors of Monte Crete. Monte Crete was never incorporated in Greece or the UK. But we know all that. We've been through that in the programme. My defence knew all about that. It went through in the Greek courts that Monte Crete was just a name that we used because Verona wouldn't have been suitable. And this is so Gratis is writing this, and he's been with me for 3 years. He knew exactly what Monte Crete was and what Verona was, and people invested in Ralph Christie and Stephen Thomas into Placus. They weren't invested in a company. It was just 50,000 each shareholders, and we'll get a grant and we'll sell it, and you'll all get hopefully about 250 grand back, based on Sue Watt, who said she could get 19 million EU funding. So, I mean, I should have sacked them when I read this bit. Of course, there was nothing. I was just a lamb to the slaughter.
Just to let you know, we've got 2 minutes left.
Okay, so see Mr. Christie's difficulties with Benedict Clark. The fact that he did not return Mr. Clark's loan monies a day after he received the loan monies, and how on the face of the paper trail, 200,000 of the loan monies was not used re the flotation of the Ron UK Limited. No, Mr. Christie disputes this. He will give his own explanation to the court when he gave evidence. So, well, I did give my evidence, and I did get not guilty for it. So I mustn't have. So this is all before I've been in the witness box myself, and they were telling me not to go in the witness box. They said you'll make things worse for yourself. I said I'm definitely going in the witness box. You know, if that's my one chance to speak. If I hadn't, I think I'd have got 20 years in prison. So, and we've been through the money from Benedict Clark. The 200,000 was part of a 500,000 loan. This is the 200,000 that Cedric and Declan told Matthew had never been invested or had it back in out of Bali, when in fact it was Matthew and Benedict Clark that took the 200,000 out of Bali themselves on the 24th September 2009 to go into the loan. It was the signed loan of 500,000. So it's just amazing, isn't it? How just reading this document out, you can tell probably by my voice how I got. I just didn't get the answers. I should have the trial shouldn't have gone ahead, and that should have been exoneration and should have been able to continue my own business.
One thing that's really interesting that I found, and we're going to finish up here, over not just your series but other series, and obviously I've covered many other shows with other people. In as much as that people don't, they probably park it in their minds. And don't remember what's actually been said in court, which understandable. Your case is, very historic in some respects. And when people start reliving it on a clear slate where they can actually talk to somebody and discuss it, because most people won't be willing to listen to all of this or not even understand it. And that's what I find really great about doing this series, where we actually go through documents, because not only you, the person that is claiming injustice, but also the listeners get to understand how this could possibly happen. Because the law is built on complexities, but actually it's really quite straightforward. In terms of how it operates. They talk about legalese and the like and such, but it's English language. They use like special words sometimes, but there's dictionaries for that. But it's the inherent problems that is created. But you look at stuff like this, they've probably charged a lot of money just to do this document, which is in plain English, which is incorrect. And when you're in the system until you're 3 weeks into a trial, it's not as if you have the opportunity to contest this. You're going to be seen like an activist, and basically you just don't accept what's coming your way. Now, on that point, Ralph, we need to go to your second song. Sorry.
Yeah, just one thing. Gratis knew all the answers to these questions himself, and he's written it because he was involved in before the Greek trial. So he's just, I'm just stunned. Okay, so I'm going to go for Rod Stewart, and it's "I Don't Want to Talk About It," which is a great classic song. And I'm going to die. It's not that me that doesn't want to talk about it. I love.
I can tell by your eyes that you've probably been crying forever. And the stars in the sky don't mean nothing to you. They're a mirror. Talk about it, how you broke my heart. But if I stay here just a little bit longer, if I stay here, won't you listen to my heart? The colors of my heart, blue for the tears, black for the nights, feels the stars in the sky don't mean nothing to you. They're a mirror. Just a little bit longer. If I stay here, won't you listen to my heart? Oh, my heart. So hard. Just a little bit longer. If I stay here, won't you listen to my heart? Oh, my heart.
Okay, we are back. That was Rod Stewart. I don't want to talk about it. We are going through your defence witnesses and comments from your counsel. So let's just carry on with that, Ralph.
Yeah, we will do. I'd just like to comment on that that song there. I don't want to talk about it. Like last week, you said to me, well, I'm not harassing Tayyab Ali with just one email a week. So I sent him 3 this week. And it's quite obvious that Tayyab Ali and Stephen Grattidge, Cedric Declan, Tirani, and many others don't want to talk about it. But we won't give up. We're going to have to say something at some point because everything's damning against them. Yeah, so we're down to now in this letter where Grattidge writes, during the period in 2008 when Mr. Christie had transferred the Plakius Palace investors' monies from Plakius Palace to Zakros Landing, he obtained a mortgage on the asset of Verona in brackets Plakius Palace and other properties before transferring the investors back into the Plakius Palace project without informing the investors that the value of their investment and returns may be reduced, given the fact that there was now a mortgage in place upon Verona A's main asset, namely Plakius Palace and other properties. Mr. Christie transferred to Verona AE in order to secure the mortgage. Mr. Christie's explanation is that he did tell the investors, but waited until 2011. I mean, this is totally off the mark. And this all came out in the Greek trial. Okay, so it wasn't me that transferred them. All the investors were written a letter from Stephen Thomas and myself in 2008 asking if they wanted, because we had an offer on Plakius Palace, I think it was 2.8 million from an asset that cost 1.65. And it was from Movenpick, the ice cream company in Switzerland. But they have a hotel arm. And so I asked them if we should accept the sale. And the Plakius Palace shareholders said, well, we'll just leave it with you and Stephen. You're the people out there, do what you think's best. So we did transfer all the shareholders into Zakros, which is true. And then we've spoken about the collapse at the back end of 2008. Well, because Zakros was taking a bit longer and the Movenpick pulled out of the deal, we went back to shareholders and said, look, I think it's better that you go back into Plakius Palace. Nothing to do with what Grattidge has written here. I mean, this is the sort of stuff that Sue Watt and Stephen Thomas were saying, and Michael and Kimberley in their police statements back in 2009. So Grattidge is certainly on the inside here and against me. So the mortgage that he talked about, I put assets, personal assets of mine for 750,000 euros into the company Veron on top of the hotel because I didn't want to jeopardize the hotel. And so the bank gave me a loan then of 450,000 in the company Veron, but it was covered on the 5 assets that I put in. So these are just complete lies. And to say Mr. Christie's explanation is that he did tell the share investors but waited till 2011 is complete nonsense because the case had started in 2009. The transfer from Plakius to Zakros happened in, I think it was November 2008, mainly down to Stephen Thomas's greed again. And then they were back again in Plakius, certainly by January 2009, because we'd ring-fenced the 19 million at that stage from Sue Watt. So everything was done to protect the shareholders. So this is, I can't remember what I must have been thinking when I'm reading this and just gone along with it. Anyway, E says here, Mr. Christie use of investors' money that he used re-gambling of just under 1 million sterling made a paper loss in the region of around 60,000.
Okay, talk about that one because that intrigues me, that subject matter.
Right, okay, so, well, I'll just read on it. Mr. Christie's explanation for this gambling is that he was using the gambling to secure euros in Greece and using monies in his UK bank account. And then it's in brackets, deposits of investors and others, to pay the UK-based bookmakers and did not, in fact, make an actual loss due to currency fluctuation. Exactly. I mean, if they're saying here that I gambled away $1 million, and I know we've spoken about this in earlier episodes. It wasn't a matter of gambling 1 million and losing it or anything like that. It was just the best way because I was receiving euros from people like Yanni Fanamakis, a couple of guys in Almerida and Plaka that would be quite happy to place big bets. So I wanted the bets to actually lose. So here, I'm sure if you were a gambler and you were turning it and you turned it over $1 million and the paper loss of 60,000, it just shows that if there was a paper loss of 300,000 or 400,000, you would think, oh yeah, this is right. But it's like the Hockley thing of 6,000 on a deal of 400,000 euros. So and this paper loss is probably made up. Really, I don't think that was true. But I explained it all. Anyway, I got not guilty for that. I got not guilty for what they said above about Veron and Zakros. So, I was speaking the truth.
One thing I will say, Ralph,
Yeah.
because you talk quite fast, so is that if I went to gamble, I wouldn't want to go in to lose. But you're suggesting if you lost, it goes in your favour. Is that what you're saying?
Well, it wasn't me. It wasn't me that was gambling. I was like the broker.
Right. So who was gambling?
So if somebody was gambling 1,000 euros on something over here, bear in mind, the Greek gambling companies are owned by the government. You can get better odds online in the UK. So the Greeks wanted me to put the bets on for them rather than have to pay the taxes and everything else. So I would take the bets for them and put them on. Now, if it lost, that was great because let's say they give me 1,000 euros in cash over here. That becomes my money because it's lost to them, not to me.
Right. How does that? Yeah. So if they lost the bet, how does that help you out?
Because I've got euros in my pocket over here, I don't have to come through the exchange company. They would place a bet of 1,000 euros with me.
Yeah.
Cedric knew all about this. Dave Francis knew all about this, and Declan knew all about this. And so they give me 1,000 euros, say in plaque, and say put this on this football match or this or whatever.
But surely you have to place the bet in the betting shop or casino.
No, I would place it online with Sky Bet in the UK or Binary Bet or Betfair, whoever Dave Francis has set the accounts up with me for.
So why can't they do that themselves then?
Because back then, this is 2008, 2007, and I think it was Gordon Brown that stopped the taxes on betting in the UK around that time. Well, they hadn't stopped it in Greece, and there wasn't a lot of online betting then, I don't think, back then, because you're talking 20 years ago. So it was just, Ralph, can you do this? Can you do that? And I mean, Alan Thompson was doing it. They were all doing it through me, and I would love it when they would ring up because I would hope it would lose because I wouldn't then have to send money that people are giving me for houses over to pay the builders over here. It was an ingenious idea.
I don't understand how you or they win if they lost. I don't get it.
It's not my money, is it? The Greeks are giving me the money. The money that I'm using in the bank account is from clients in the UK. The clients in the UK want euros because I'm doing business for them over here. So somebody put 20,000 into the bank. I mean, we're talking about a turnover of $1 million here, aren't we? So somebody gave me 20,000 in the UK and say Yannis Vanamakis, who was one of the biggest gamblers in Crete and a poker player, said to me, put 2,000 on this, Ralph. Here's 2,000 euros. I would then, whatever it was in the UK currency, put 1,600 on whatever bet he wanted out of the money in my UK bank account. So if it lost, that means I keep the money. If Yannis Vanamakis wins, that means then I've got whatever the odds were. If I have to give him 2,000 because he's won, I've then got to use that out of money I transferred from the UK. So it's just a cash flow. It was a brilliant cash flow system because even where Gratis is written there,
were you like a bookie then, a bookmaker yourself then?
Well, no, because I wasn't the book. I was just doing because of this pound in the UK, and I had pounds from my clients in the UK, and because they all needed euros for whatever they were buying over here, I was getting the euros here. It was just a money exchange. Wow. It's like Gratis kind of says that, doesn't he? That he did not, in fact, make an actual loss due to the currency fluctuation. So to associate that as if I'm a gambler, which we've spoken about before, is nonsense.
Yeah. Okay, carry on.
Okay, on Friday of last week, yesterday evening, and again this afternoon, we advised Mr. Christie, after going through each defence statement with him, that given the absence of comments on the matters referred to in paragraph 4 above, other more minor matters, and the uncomplimentary comments some of his defence witnesses made about Mr. Christie's business ethics, and the manner that we would be reluctant to call any of the witnesses until we know what their answers are in respect of the matters raised in paragraph 4.
How the hell? Right, just repeat that slowly, yeah? Repeat that slowly, what was just said.
Yeah, it's incredible, isn't it? And bear in mind that a lot of them were defence witnesses over in Crete, and Cedric had snaffled 8 of my defence witnesses to the other side. So on Friday of last week, yesterday evening, and again this afternoon, we advised Mr. Christie, after going through each defence statement with him, that given the absence of comments on the matter referred to in paragraph 4 above, other more minor matters and the uncomfy comments some of the defence witnesses made about Mr. Christie's business ethics and the manner, that we will be reluctant to call any of the witnesses until we know what their answers are in respect of the matters raised in paragraph 4.
There's a couple of questions there in that, right? I get it where they're looking at a strategy in mind, but the fact is they're presenting this at such a late stage, and they've exposed that the fact is they've not even spoken to the witnesses or looked at any statements that they've provided.
Miriam Shabab took about 20 statements in the UK when I was down with her in London on the phone, all written out. I've got most of them now. Dave Campion, Carol Barnes, Helen Folks, David Folks, just goes on and on and on. And they're all good witness, Dave, all good witness statements. And bear in mind, in another programme, Miriam Shabab came over here to Crete at the beginning of January, took a fantastic statement from Dr. Femi Sofos. She took one from the Mayor of Hanya, and she took others from clients over here that had businesses, and another statement from Charles Anakis. So to say, to not use any witnesses, it's just diabolical, isn't it? It just shows, again, just the insider job that went on.
Yeah. We've got an event going on in September, which is for the Association of Prisoners Maintaining Innocence. And we've got 6 speakers there. We could have got more, but obviously 6 is enough. But these are all college professors and barristers, yeah? And, you know, people say, oh, you must be guilty and all this sort of jazz. No, it's not always the case. Quite often, people plead guilty in many instances just to get the discount, and not risk trial. And also people get wrongly convicted because, like in your case, which is quite a complex financial case, they don't understand anything.
Yeah. This is way above the jury in Bradford. Even Judge Dunham was getting lost with it all and what have you. I mean, I know exactly what went on. I'm still talking about it, 11 years after the trial. I know exactly. I can see exactly what's going on, and what's fascinating going through these documents. It's just enhancing and making my position stronger, and it's making my own defence, the prosecution, Cedric and Declan, look more and more guilty of just framing me and shoving me in prison for no reason at all.
Yeah.
I met many people in prison that pleaded guilty, and decent people that had professional jobs. And I said, I just wanted to get a 3-year sentence instead and get on with it. And it's just one thing I could never do is plead guilty for something I've never done. I just couldn't do it.
Yeah, a lot of people principled like that. I'm
taking a risk here of getting 14 years. If I'd have got guilty for all of these, I'd have got 14 years here. If I'd have got found guilty in Greece, and Jane as well, we'd have got 20 years each.
It's always interesting the way they throw around these. I mean, although in the UK, I don't know about Crete or Greece.
Well, we've just read out in this programme in part 1 Charles Anakis' statements and his character references and his direct letter to Grattage, April the 27th, 2014. So in this one, it says, after considering our advice, Mr. Christie has decided that the only defence witnesses he may wish to call on his behalf are Charles Anakis and Nigel Smiles. Before they are called, Mr. Christie agrees that they ought to be contacted by our instructing solicitor and asked to comment upon those matters. So they've got rid of all my other defence witnesses 3 days into the trial, like Jeff Brown.
But they're saying that you've agreed to it.
Well, they've written this on the 4th of February 2015, which is 3 or 4 weeks into the trial. They've got rid of all my other ones, saying I didn't need them because what the prosecution have said, you would be found not guilty. So, that's great. I rang up Jeff Brown, Dave Campion. You can come to the trial. I'm going to get not guilty, so come and listen. So they're all sat in there listening, and of course, once they've been in to listen, there can't be prosecution witnesses. So another trap. But as far as Charles Anakis was, he was a defence witness in the Greek trial. Grattage and Tirani and Cedric and Miriam have all been to Charles's house and sat down and spoke to him a bit about him when he was a defence witness for the Greek trial. You've just read out two fantastic statements, character references, one from December 2009 earlier, and the other from March 2013 from Charles. He's going to come on the programme next week. I expect you'll probably have a full 2 hours with Charles. And here, they're even slamming Charles, who's an architect, a good friend of mine, done a lot of business with him. He's looking after Placius Palace because Sue Watt has left us in the lurch there. And he's dealing with Bally, where Declan tells Cedric that there's no money there when Declan was there when it was paid.
All right, let's carry on.
Okay, so now we've got the title Charles Xenakis. To clarify the contradictions in Charles's statement at page 2 of 6 and 4 of 6, at page 2 of 6 of his statement, he states, when I first saw his details of Placius Palace and how funding and the project was going, I did not believe it to be sophisticated or correct in the way the Greek authorities required for it to be done. I realised how Mickey Mouse this attempts were in respect of the above.
Who's that? Who's that? You? They're talking about
No,
you?
he's talking about Sue Watt.
Oh, right. Mickey Mouse.
Sue Watt was the person that was getting the grant.
Well, Sue Watt is essentially you at that time anyway, isn't it?
Well, she was working for she was solely employed to get the EU funding, and Manford was helping her do it. So, and Charles has got his own funding for various projects in Zante and whatever, so he knows how it works.
And they said Mickey Mouse. That's really good wording, actually.
Yeah, and but it's not me that's put the presentation in. It's Sue Watt that's put the presentation in. So even though she's having the meetings and secured the funds, Charles took over in August 2009 from her. So he's saying it's her now, and she's a prosecution witness in the UK after she daredn't turn up for the Greek trial in 2013 because it was all based on a pack of lies from a rapist.
Mm. Yeah.
So yeah, page 4. Way in which Greek property transactions are done in contravention of the law is acceptable to the Greeks. Okay, so I mean, we haven't got his statement, but perhaps we'll read his statement out next week. Regarding the positive things he has to say about Mr. Christie and his approach in conducting business in Crete, at page 4, 6 of his statements, whether he stands by the comments he makes regarding Mr. Christie in view of the matters referred to at paragraph 4 above. Again, he's gratitude to Charles's house. He's taken a signed statement from Charles on whatever it was, the 14th of March 2013. We've used that statement in the Greek trial. Charles was a live defence witness in the Greek trial. We've read out what he's written in his character statement. So this is the last thing that Gratis wanted was Charles to go into the witness box because the whole of the defence, the prosecution's case would have dropped, would have lost. Charles Xenakis knew that Alan Thompson had ripped me off on Keira. He knew that Nikos, the lawyer, was holding 480,000 of clients' funds. He was dealing with the Bally money. He knew that 600,000 to that. He didn't know anything about Zakros because he never dealt with that. But he was certainly dealing with Placius Palace as well. So it's just another stitch up, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay. Let's carry on.
So Nigel smiles regarding whether, in view of the matters referred to at paragraph 4 above, whether he stands by the positive comments he makes regarding Mr. Christie's character. Well, Nigel smiles. Lives next door to Jeff Brown. I built his house in 2007. He had a house before that in Almerida that I bought back off him, and it was and upgraded him. And we built Jeff Brown's house. He's a retired professor from Darlington University, and he had been waiting to give evidence and all the time, and he never came in. And he's still living here. He's a great friend of mine to this day. So then it says Mr. Xenakis and Mr. Smiles' two statements must be signed and dated before they can be called. Well, surely the ITN solicitors should have done that when the statements were taken.
Yeah, then if they're not signed and dated, they're deemed as draft.
So it's another hindrance. Well, why don't we get straight onto ITN and say, right, we want Charles's statement signing and we want Mr. Smiles' statement signing. In fact, a lot of them were signed. It's another lie. They were signed because they're actually signed in December 2014 when I was down at ITN's offices in Stratford. So it's just another lie. No, regarding Mr. Smiles' evidence, we're considering shooing the statements to the prosecution.
showing statements to the prosecution.
Being agreed. I've got no idea what they mean about that.
No.
I mean, my defence agreed for Nikos Nichosotakis to give evidence, didn't they? And Sue Watt as a normal civilian to give evidence. Simon Thomas to give evidence knowing he was a money launderer and his brother was a rapist. Michael and Kimberly Thompson were given evidence even though they were facing prosecution for breaking into my villa in Cockanahorio on the 11th of September 2009. Mario Cercioni was blackmailed to become a prosecution witness. Paul Walker, Pat Brownette, Julian Beecham, Dave Francis, Matthew Clark, all turned prosecution by Cedric's lies to them in April 2014. So, I mean, this is a fantastic document to go through because nobody can argue with it.
Just to let you know, shooing means to tell someone to go away. So I'm not too sure how that's used in that context.
We're considering shooing the statements to the prosecution. I have no idea now. They're just all in bed together. They're all Masons, aren't they? The Thomases, the judge, a lot of the police officers, Rattage, Tirani. It's all an inside job. It's shocking. And so it says Mr. Christie will be giving evidence on Friday of this week. He will be in the witness box for approximately 2 days. We will therefore require the answers to the above questions by 9:30 on Friday of this week, so that an informed discussion can take place with Mr. Christie regarding whether these two witnesses ought to be called, and if they are called, arrangements made for them to be in Bradford to give evidence on Monday of next week, or if they can't attend in person, arrangements to be in place for them to give evidence over a video conference link. Well, it's not about them, what they were wanting. I think Nigel Smiles was at the court most days just waiting outside to give evidence. When on the start of the trial, 12 people were waiting to come in to give evidence. They got rid of 10 of them 3 days into the trial. These two they've got rid of in the beginning of February, haven't they? And then you look at the list of the prosecutions that I've just explained. Tony Wormold, another one. You know, it's disgraceful. It makes me cry when I think about how all these people were. Well, you know, the whole thing was based on solid, sound financial business transactions in here to get people villas, to do some deals, and to live a life. And they've all shot themselves in the foot. But I don't know, mainly down to Cedric, to be fair, because obviously he was the career criminal. And it started with Operation Langan started with him in 2008 and then he had all his problems with the Sir Norman Betterson in April 2009, and then he had his diagnosis problems, you know, and then for them to use Cedric when he's mentally ill again, it's just sick. The whole thing's sick, actually, to be honest.
I think the problem you have when you're in this situation is that you somehow not have your business hat on, but you know, when you have a business hat on, you have radars. But when you have a barrister saying, "Don't worry, I'm on top of this," and all this sort of stuff, and you've got all these various representatives, and you see paperwork and that sort of thing, you just somehow fall into submission and saying, "Oh, okay, yeah, they know what they're doing. They're going to look after me."
It's an inside job. It's all a nod and a wink, isn't it? We'll give you this job if you get Christie down. Well, you can be prosecution next time. You know, it's just not a fair system at all. And to ask 12 members in Bradford, just ordinary people, to deal with a 50 million supposed fraud in Crete, you know, you would wonder why it should have all been sorted out, not without a jury, but the way the Greeks did over here.
Mm. Yeah, different set of circumstances in some respects.
Well, there was no cover-up, there was no collusion. And the problem then was when I got not guilty, Cedric then had to disappear and do all this behind my back with his son and my son. It's factual what's gone on, and people out there listening, they should. I know 3 or 4 people. Remember, 7 or 8 people have actually emailed Declan this week asking him to pay them back money after listening to us on the programme. Dave Johnson sent him an email. Jeff Brown has, Buddick has in Wales. Pete Raystrick, who's his stepfather, should be doing it, because it's quite obvious all their losses are nothing to do with Ralph Christie. They're down to Declan and Cedric's lies to protect their own asses in April 2014.
Yeah, I think definitely Cedric has a lot to answer for. And also even the police investigation in itself is pretty appalling. But as I said, you're not the only one. There's many more in a queue, Ralph.
Yeah.
Who's got the ability to.
Well, I remember Senior wanted to protect. It was more important to protect West Yorkshire's image than to say that they had the ex-head of the the economic crime unit convicted of money laundering and being a career criminal, which he's admitted doing. So that's how he's got off. And I'm sorry, it's more Declan than Cedric, because Declan has taken him to places in Crete, apparently, where Declan knew money was, and Declan speaks Greek fluently and what have you. There was a case where Andonis Loulidakis, who was the agent for Bali, Declan was speaking to him in Greek, saying, "Look, Cedric's over here. We're doing something. Will you tell Cedric a couple of lies and tell him there was no money in it?" And Nick and Andonis Loulidakis, he's half Canadian, so he speaks perfect English and all the rest of it. He turned around to Declan in front of Cedric and said, "Why do you want me to lie about your father?"
Right. Okay.
And that was witnessed later in 2019 when I met Loulidakis with Roger Barnes and we were playing tennis at the hotel in Calivas.
Okay. All right. Let's carry on.
Okay. Mr. Christie asked on Friday of last week, yesterday evening, and twice today, what his percentage chances of securing not guilty verdicts if he follows our advice and none of the above witnesses are called. Gratis says, "We are unable to answer this question. All that we are able to advise is that most of the defence witness statements address issues already confirmed by the prosecution witnesses, or are unsatisfactory as witnesses, do not appear to have a complete picture of Mr. Christie's business practices and ethics, or are uncomplimentary about
on that point there, though, right? Okay, that's a very important point there. Who? I mean, they could contribute to what they know. They don't know they don't need to know the ins and outs of your business, but they know they could contribute by explaining what they know during their dealings with you. So they're like canvassing them off straight away, dismissing them, and you know, they are a witness to facts. Yeah. So that's so inappropriate for them to do that, or even say that.
And so derogatory to the Greek prosecutor, who we've read out his statement about me not being a criminal, the three judges over here, the trial that happened here, where they're saying the way Mr. Christie does business is perfectly acceptable, set him free, let him get on with his businesses. That's what they're saying, and that's exactly what I'm doing now here in Crete. It's just a total inside job. I mean, we've gone through this, and it's, you know, well, I'm shocked. The great thing about doing this, brothers, is I'm talking to you and you're listening, and we're speaking facts here about, well, total inside job. They're actually defending, actually in the background, see how they're defending Cedric here for West Yorkshire Police and the prosecution. Because bear in mind, Cedric's got 8 of the defence witnesses prosecution.
Yeah.
9 months ago.
Okay, we've got 5 minutes left, Ralph. So if you want to crack on.
Okay. So the only information they appear to have come from Mr. Christie, who blames the UK police investigation into his business activities, which resulted in all his problems.
Repeat that again. The only
information appears to have come from Mr. Christie, who blames the UK police investigation into his business activities.
How can they say that though, Ralph? Right? Bear in mind they've got all the stuff from the Greek trial, where
Cedric's been working with Gratis for 2 years, and Cedric's been saying how corrupt West Yorkshire Police are, and that Ralph's totally innocent, Jane's totally innocent.
But you've got all. I mean, essentially, the evidence. No, they can't say that. They can't get away with saying that. The only information we've got is from Ralph Christie. What about the prosecution information? Right, as well.
Right, the
Greek trial, because the Greek trial focused on quite a few very, very pertinent points that were raised in the actual claim in the original case. The one in the UK was somewhat slightly different, but basically the Greek trial took the opportunity, save as the court time, to actually go through it and respond and examine exhibits. In this case, basically, they're saying that in this instance, your solicitors are saying, well, this is Ralph stuff. It's just inadmissible, or we're not going to use it. That's so effing wrong.
And so Cedric was blaming the police, wasn't he, until the Greek trial?
Cedric said lots of things, to be honest.
Well,
how he's
mentally ill. So how they can use him when he's mentally ill, again, it's a disgrace. And Grattich and Tirani, well, not so much Tirani, but Grattich and Tayyab Ali definitely knew that he had mental health problems. So, yeah, of course, it was the police who froze my bank accounts, stopped me floating on the plus market, got rid of the 19 million euro grant, and stopped the sale for 25 million from the Ministry of Oman to buy Zakros, stopped Primo Fratelli investing 50 million into Veron, the UK company, through the stock market. This is what happened, and everything I'm saying now, I told the police in my first interview on the 31st of January 2009, and in October. John Jessup backed up everything I said, and my wife Jane, that was interviewed at the same time over some €9,000 fraud that didn't exist with Richard Fernley, again was saying that everything's over there. We do have a company. We do own this and we do it. So it's just gone on, hasn't it, for 6 years? And at the end of the day, whatever happened, all they had to do was, well, get Ralph Christie into prison, and everybody else can live happily ever after.
Yeah. Okay, we've got 2 more minutes, Ralph, to just try and finish up on the final bits you've got there.
I think we'll probably have to come back to this, won't we, next week again? But it's been very, very, very upsetting, but very interesting going through it. Despite receiving advice from several different sources, he was not prepared to accept that although he has lots of entrepreneurial spirit, he did not have the necessary skill or staff to scale up his business in the way that he was trying, resulting in unnecessary risk to his investors when the world economy went into near depression. Again, that's complete nonsense, because we've had John Jessup had set up the UK company. Darren Brown was doing the plus market. Matthew and Benedict Clark had sent €500,000 to set it up. Mario Cercione had protected the company from going bust after West Yorkshire Police froze the bank accounts. I am an entrepreneur. That's it. That is me 100%. And I do take risks. I see the way forward, but I'm very, very professional at what I'm doing, which is why I've been able to go through whatever I've done, a prison sentence and all the rest of it, and come back here, not lost anything, and hold my head up high and continue doing what I was doing. So there was no unnecessary risk for investors. It was all about protecting investors' money, and it still is today, to be fair.
Yeah. It's a complete mess up, really, a proper little circus. Because the more I think about it, and I relate it to other cases where basically council have said, oh, if you're on your stand, you're going to convict yourself, or there's no need to put up witnesses, we've got enough evidence. But that makes zero sense based on all the stuff that I've read.
Yeah. I like your picture that you did the other way of rather Judge Dunham Hall being in a courtroom. He was actually in a theatre, and there is a great theatre in Bradford called the Alhambra. And of course, the trial was in January 2015. And I think really the pantomime of my trial should have been held in the Alhambra Theatre.
Yeah. Even judges will agree with you, in all honesty, about the state of some court cases. And I think if it starts wrong, it's going to go wrong. And I've spoke to judges in the past where they've said they know the person's not guilty, but the jury's convicted them.
Yeah,
based on the evidence. So
I was just lamb to the slaughter, brothers, a total lamb to the slaughter. But even though it's quite depressing and upsetting and going through it, it's like having your fingertips on the bottom of the sea when you're going out of your depth, and if you know you go any further, you're going to drown. Well, that's as far as I went. But now I'm back swimming. I can hold my head up high. I've got no problems with doing business over here. I've resurrected deals, and I'm settled here. And once I get a bit of more wool on my back, I'm definitely going to go after Cedric and Declan for what they've done to me, because Declan's got 100 million sterling business in the UK now. So these people that are after him for money is quite correct, because it's quite obvious that I haven't lost him any money.
Yeah. On that note, can we have your final song for this week's episode?
We can. It's going to be a little bit of a dance song, and it's called Timber, and I think it's by, is it Pitbull?
I don't know.
It's a bit of a kind of a barn dance song.
Oh yeah, I've heard that song actually. Yeah.
I'm cutting timber. Da, 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 da.
Yeah, I know it that way. I know it. It's on our.
So I'm gonna listen to that, and then I'm gonna go and have a drink and go out with Gita and
go to the tavern.
Taverna.
Yeah.
And I've sent your wife a place where you can come and stay in September. She seems to like it.
Oh, have you? Oh, okay. Cool. All right. On that note, let's play that for you now.
It's going down. I'm yelling timber. You better move. You better dance. Let's make a night you won't remember. I'll be the one you won't forget.